All right, hello and welcome everybody to a resume and cover letter presentation. In this presentation, we're going to go over some tips and tricks to polish up your resume and cover letters, as well as some activities that you can do right now to kind of help you improve your resume and cover letter. So before watching this video, if your instructor could just pause the video, make sure to pull up a copy of your resume, whether it's on your computer or an actual paper sheet, make sure that you have that pulled up. Okay, these are the two different offices that we have for Career Center. So if you're ever interested in coming into our offices in person, you can contact either the Allendale office or the Pew campus. These are three different types of resumes. So there's a chronological resume, a functional resume, and a combined resume. Everybody in the classroom or in the room may have a combination of these different resumes. A quick summary up of each one of them is basically the chronological resume is everything in reverse chronological order with your work experience. So it'd be the most recent work experience that you've done on the top all the way to the bottom, which would be work experience that you had done in the past. A functional resume is really beneficial if you don't have much experience or you've been not working for a long period of time. This mainly focuses on the functional pieces, which are the skills. And then a combined resume is just simply mixing those two together. So having your work experience, having your skills and your awards, or any sort of things that you've done that relate to the position. These are a few key points just to keep in mind. You want to make sure that your resumes are targeted towards the position. So you may have a base resume that you use, but make sure that when you're polishing it up to send it to an employer or whoever you're sending it to, make sure that you are making it catered towards that position. So you really want to highlight your own personal brand. You want to use words that resonate with you, and you want to have relevant work experience to that specific position. So, for example, with relevant information or relevant experience, you could be applying for a marketing position, and though maybe you don't have a marketing internship or a marketing job, you might have done a project in your class relating to marketing. So you would make sure to put that on there and cater it towards that position that you're looking into. So a little fun fact is that recruiters actually take 7 seconds to look at your resume. So they're going to skim over your resume for a quick 7 seconds and make a determination on what they think about it. So for the next activity, before basically what we're going to do is you can see right here, there's a resume, which is a sample resume, and we're going to pause the video. So have your instructor pause the video and look at the resume for 7 seconds. And then after that 7 seconds, we'll move on. So just to give you an idea of how recruiters look at the resumes, this can give you a good idea for how you want to format the resume. So just observe anything that you can observe and make sure to look at formatting and information and content or whatever it may be. So pause the video until moving on to the next slide. Okay, for our next activity, or for this first activity, we're going to talk about things that you remembered. So pause the video again and turn to your partner and go through these questions. So what did you remember? Was it too quick? What were the main things that you saw? And just give an overall picture for what you thought about that. Okay, and now you're going to repeat this activity with a partner. So before we stated to make sure you have your resume pulled up, whether it's on your computer, whether it's a piece of paper, switch resumes with a partner or a person that's next to you and do the same activity. So give them your resume for about 5 to 10 seconds, skim it over quickly, give it back to your partner, and then immediately after that's done, pause the video, look over these questions, and see what you can kind of take out of that for somebody's resume that you're actually seeing live in person. All right, these are just some main content points for a resume. So you never want to use templates. This is something that's really, really common, and you'll always see people using templates online or on just random websites, but you want to stray away from that. You want to keep it clean, consistent, and minimalistic. It's also really helpful to have bolding, italics, underlining, and you want to have everything in the order of importance. So what's most important should be at the top, and then as things get a little less important, have them at the bottom. And as you saw with that resume that we kind of skimmed, it was very organized. It had bolded points for experiences, education, awards, and so on. So make sure that these are things that you're incorporating in your own resume. The next thing is just the content. What is the bulk or the meat of that resume? Have your instructor pause this for just 30 seconds to a minute just to see all these specific things. I'm not going to read them off because they're on the slide, but look over the certain things that you could incorporate into your resume and try to compare that to your resume. See what of these things are there, what's missing, what's not there. So just take a look at that so that you can incorporate it into yours. And then these are just some quick pointers. Obviously, make sure that there is, you know, grammatical information is on point. Don't put anything personal in. Check over everything multiple times. It's always a good idea to check with a peer or a faculty or a professor or somebody who you trust, and especially Career Center, just to go over your resume to make sure that it's polished and that it looks good. All right, so this is going to be our next activity. If you don't know what this picture is, I think you should definitely go watch Karate Kid. That is an all-time great movie. But this is the wax on, wax off scene, which is pretty iconic. But basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be waxing on and waxing off with our resumes. So take about 2 to 3 minutes to just go over some of the things that we previously talked about. So look at things for, do you have a template? Do you have bolding? Do you have italics? Are your dates in order? Are they clear and concise? Is everything easy to read? Is the grammar on point? Do you have your education piece? Do you have your relevant courses, skills, work experience, all these sorts of things? I would also recommend for the instructor to scroll back through the video and maybe look at the slide again that has some of the content pieces, but just go over your resume for 2 to 3 minutes, your own resume. So pause the video, go over that content, go over that information, and just think about ideas and maybe take notes of certain things that you can polish up later because this is obviously a long-term process. So go over some things, go over some content, and see where you can make your resume a little bit better. All right, another thing that we're going to break down are action verbs. So action verbs are certain verbs that you can use to improve the language that's in your resume or your cover letter, but this can just add a little more pizzazz. It can improve your own brand. It can personalize it a little more. Instead of saying something really basic like worked with people, you can use more specific terminology such as, maybe supervised a group of 10 to 15 students or whatever it may be. So you want to make sure you're using action verbs in your sentences and you want to make sure that you're using very specific details. So we always talk about quantifying numbers. If you can find numbers or pull something out of the certain sentence or the experience that you've done, that's always preferred. That's always going to look better on your resume. So if you did, for example, supervise maybe 10 to 15 college students, then you don't want to just say worked with college students or was boss for college students. You want to say directly supervised 10 to 15 college students in said organization. So make it as specific as possible. For our next activity, we're going to be using action verbs and actually applying them. Now, on the little worksheet document that we've sent to your instructor, which we're going to recommend that your instructor sends that to you, there will be a link to all the action verbs that we have on our Career Center website. For the time being, these are all the communication action verbs that you can use and you can incorporate them in your resume. So because communication is a very broad thing, we thought this would be a nice thing where anybody could participate in this activity regardless of what your major is. But let's say you're engineering and you had more technical skills, there are action verbs related to more technical skills or communication or leadership or whatever it may be. So what you're going to do here is you're going to pause the video and you're going to look at these action verbs and see if you can incorporate 2 to 3 action verbs anywhere in your resume. So Maybe, for example, you're going to be looking at your resume and you're going to see something where you convinced a group of people to give you a grant or give you a loan. So you can say persuaded, you know, this organization to participate or donate within our organization or contribute money to whatever it may be. So look at these action verbs and just customize it towards yours. So have your instructor pause the video here. Take about 2 to 5 minutes, just incorporate action verbs. You can do to more, if you can do more than 2 to 3, don't hesitate to do that. Moving on to cover letters, we're going to go over some basics for cover letters. Now, there are three main points that you want to know for cover letters. There are 3 paragraphs, so you want to have something that is an attention grabber that express interest in that specific position. And then your second paragraph, you really want to talk about what you're bringing to the position. So don't talk about what they're going to bring to you, but specifically apply your skills, your knowledge, your passions, your experiences in a story related to that position that you're looking at. And then your third paragraph is kind of just that outreach paragraph of when can we talk? When can we get coffee? When can we have a conversation? All right, the next activity is a cover letter activity. What we're going to do, and it's really, really simple, is just write 2 to 3 sentences for each one of those paragraphs. So I'm going to simplify this a little more. Write 2 to 3 sentences on expressing interest in a position. So what you want to do before this, think about a job or a position that you're interested in, and imagine that you're writing the letter to that specific person. We're not going to write a full cover letter, but just to give you an idea for the gist or the overall picture for how to actually create a cover letter. So write 1 to 2 sentences on why you're interested in that position, what pulls you to it, why it's attractive to you, and make sure to really have that attention grabber to pull that employer in. The second thing you want to do is write 1 to 2 sentences that give a brief overview of your skills and your knowledge bases and everything that you're going to bring towards that position. And then finally, write 1 to 2 sentences on any sort of outreach on it was a pleasure writing to you. I would love to connect in the future. When can we have a conversation? Or hopefully, we can have a conversation somewhere down the line. So, just getting those 3 points. Again, simple 1 to 2 sentences. I would pause this for about 2 to 5 minutes and just get a picture for how you would do a cover letter. And also on our little sheet that we've given your instructor, there will be a link to the cover letter outline if you want more specific details on that. And feel free to pause the video here if you want to just get an overall summary for resumes and cover letters and how to approach those. So yeah, basically go to the final document or that document your instructor had. It will have more in-depth detail, links to our Career Center page, and a lot of the information that was talked about in this video.